Here in the studio, I have a clergyman, political analyst, join me to welcome Reverend Humphrey Arena. Reverend, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thank you for viewers at home. Let's interact.
Okay, to the very close to him is a legal practitioner, political health commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Henry Walls. Barrister, welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Viewers at home, once more, I celebrate you people. Thank God for being alive today. And wishing it's a pleasure being here.
All right. Well, as it stands right now, it's like there seems to be a glimmer of hope, if any, because Putin, when he was asked, when will this war come to an end, he gave a condition that was like months into the war. Is that the military? We're not here to halt you. Go home, but for this region, you have to leave it for the Russian-speaking citizens who have been marginalized, who have been killed, who have been oppressed. It is their home. They called on to us, Mother Russia, to help. That's why we are here. Zelensky said, no way. It's not possible. Even that Kremlin will come take it from you. And that was how the war was linked at this particular moment. But the Pope also came to say, look, Ukraine, hoist the white flag. Talk to this man, Putin. Definitely there'll be peace. And of course, Ukrainians, and of course, are led by President Zelensky, rejected what the Pope said. They are going to fight to the end. Glory. When the Russian troops started amassing more grounds, winning more grounds, Zelensky went to the world to say, look, you have to force Russia to accept peace. That was the term he used. You have to force Russia, any means necessary, any means possible, to accept peace. Give us long-range missiles, long-range weapons we can use to repel the Russian forces. At first, it was never. Right now, there's no cap anymore. Take it, defend the territory. Gentlemen, terms and conditions given by Putin. Let me start off with Humphrey. What do you feel about it?
Thank you very much. Sometimes I get amused at some words that leaders, so-called powerful leaders, use when they are talking to people they feel that they are superior to. But we live in the world of equals. Whether you are president of half of a continent or you are president of a small place, you are a president, and everybody talks like that. When I heard or read Putin saying, give me the Donbass region, and then we can have peace, I laughed because that's a boo-boo trap. The aim of Russia is to reclaim every land that was Soviet Union. That is his aim. And there is no way, even if you give him that region, that Ukraine will live to see the next year. You would have had a compressed environment to mass his armaments to be able to fight Ukraine. He's saying some things now because he didn't believe that the war will last to this moment. He has looked forward to a one-week conquest, run over. But today, Russians are being skeptical about their leadership. People are beginning to see that it isn't because you are so powerful. Intelligence is important. Zelensky is not a politician. He's not a military man. He was I don't want to use the word comedian, but
he was a comedian.
He was a comedian. He was in the media. So for him to have stood steadfastly and to be able to strategically gauge a military might, you can see that it is not what you really have as armaments. It is what you have as intellectual power that gives you the... And see the way he's able to rally around Europe and others. You wouldn't have suspected that he'd be able to do all that. But here he is. And as the war goes on, the power of Russia gradually wanes. And as it wanes, because some military men will also, from Russia, will be too weary to fight. Sometimes they will defect. We have seen that in some environments before. And so we need to look at it if the whole of Europe and all came together, about 90 countries, they say, came together, and they are choosing a pathway, and you are saying no, the only condition I will give is to make sure I have that part of the land. If not, there's no peace. I said, no, I can't give it to you. The people of Ukraine has not agreed to give any inch of their land to Russia. And look at how they are sacrificing their lives because they believe of the territorial integrity of their life. And that, again, is also within the United Nations rules and guidelines, which Russia has defied. Of course, Russia feels because he has China, he has
North Korea.
North Korea, he has Egypt, what's it called, Iran, as part of his military alliance that he can. But look at how Ukraine have been able to down some of their drones and even destroy some of their armaments within their own country. So I believe that will not fly.
It don't fly.
It won't fly, and the war will come to an end someday. It may take a long time, but the Ukrainian people are dogged, they are steadfast, and you cannot win a man who is steadfastly dogged in his thoughts.
You can't win in man who's steadfastly dogged in his thoughts. But if you take a look at what is happening right now, Zelensky has been complaining bitterly. God is going to report the Russians that are gaining more grounds in Ukraine, especially the vast region. And the Pope saw and said, look, just hoist the white flag, okay? What's this? Let them have it for there to be peace. After all, going back on the lane, you guys are ones like the brothers and all that, camaraderies and the rest of that. But as it stands right now, I'm not saying that the war is itching very, very close to Kyiv. And that is like a source of worry, a worry on the side. And that's the reason why President Zelensky is afraid and complaining and begging for the world to come to his aid. Take it up from that.
Well, you see, just as some other persons might argue, the question there is, what is Putin pushing forward for? Putin is pushing forward to ensure that those areas that have been annexed by Russia still remain within their territorial control. And Ukraine, on its part, does not want to give in. Accepted that there is pressure on Zelensky based on the push from Russia, but the truth still remains that these persons have remained resolute. Presently, the 90 countries that have gathered in Switzerland to enable them looked at the issue. Bear also in mind that America has decided to support, have a kind of bilateral agreement with Ukraine in terms of security, in terms of supplying arms and others. You also find out that those 90 countries who have met in Switzerland, they have one common thought. And what is that thought? How will Ukraine survive this war? How will they be able to bring a meeting point between Russia and Ukraine? But again, you find out that the condition Putin is giving is not a condition that can be met within that space of time, because the issue of ego comes in. When this war started in February 2022, Putin believed that in less than 2 weeks or 1 week or 1 month, the war will be over. But unfortunately for him, as the time goes on, we are now, 2 years has gone. We are in June, and the war is still going on. So the truth remains that there's no way Zelensky and the people of Ukraine will give in. The conditions have been spelled out. He looked at it. You look at the statement made by Zelensky. He sees it as a kind of a Hitler-like ultimatum. Just he equally made reference to the fact that when Hitler was fighting during the war, he was asked, give me part of Czechoslovakia and it will be all over. He said that is the same thing that Putin is putting on ground. And again, you find the American Defense Secretary, he has also raised issue. He said, you have illegally occupied somebody's territory. At the same time, you are giving the person condition on why there will be peace, which is not possible. You are saying, oh, your alignment with NATO, in terms of military alignment, oh, you should withdraw it. And you listen to what Jen said, the Secretary General of NATO. It's not possible. So all these conditions put together, the Ukrainians are not ready to give in. Instead of caving in, they will continue to fight this war till the end, until they're able to achieve that which they believe they will be able to achieve, based on the support from America, support from the European Union and other countries who have deemed it necessary. Know it also that America has signed a kind of a bilateral agreement with them, a historic one for 10 years. And there's no way America will not be there to support, to ensure that Ukraine is not humiliated or annihilated as Putin, wants to do. Accepted that the Pope and other well-meaning leaders have thought is why don't you do? But again, has Putin agreed? Because the condition is given, the other man is not ready to abide by it. And that is the position, as it were.
Both of you are showing the same line, and for good reason. But take a look at the reservation, because that's what the Pope saw. As it stands right now, even the conscriptors, so to speak, in Ukraine are finding it difficult to get more soldiers to come fight the war because people are afraid, so they're running already. Scattering for safety, they don't want to go out there to fight. And don't forget also that the Ukrainians are complaining of manpower, even when weapons are given to them by the US and its allies, NATO, so to speak. They don't have manpower to really operate this, and the devastation is on a high. Put into consideration that right now, Putin has gone to North Korea, and the war weapon is out of front, which they really want to use. Putting all these factors together, and we think it's high time Ukraine yielded to Putin's demand.
See, it could be seen as if the Ukrainians are losing men and weapons on every end. But we live in a generation where wars are not fought by humans most of the time. And that's why Zelensky is asking for armaments and weapons that can be used even with limited men. If he's able to get that, you see the world change. But let me also say very clearly that you cannot trust Putin for anything. Giving that land does not mean he's going to give peace to Ukraine. The reason why some European countries are so very much worried is that they believe that what is happening to Ukraine will happen to them if Ukraine loses. Like I said just now, Russia is not just fighting for Ukraine. Remember, he had a war with Georgia. He wants every inch of the land, that was Soviet Union. Because in the time of Soviet Union, their armaments were distributed among these nations. Ukraine had the largest center for, I've forgotten the name they use, which was built by Soviet Union government. It's in Ukraine. And so he wants to get those things back.
That is the Crimea Peninsula I talked about.
Yes. So it is something that people have to look deeper. Yes, I want to believe the Pope meant well. But you don't give in to your enemy to gain peace. No. You perpetually become a slave. And Zelensky cannot afford to subject his countrymen and women as slaves to Russia. That will not be a healthy word for him and the people. And Europeans know that. And that's why they are also saying that they are pledging to Ukraine armories. And America have also stated, we are removing the cap. There are things we say we wouldn't give you before, but we will give you now. Because we are seeing how the thing is going. And if not for the fact that Russia has no respect for anybody, you would have seen a revolt in the Russian Federation. But every man that tries anything is dead. So people are afraid to have an open revolt against. Look at the election they had. No other person was allowed to contest. And the election was a sham, just like we have in Nigeria and African countries. It was a sham. It was something that was used to just perpetuate his life. It's like what you are also seeing like in Israel now. Every leader wants to perpetuate his reign until there's what you call victory. Because living at the middle becomes a problem for the person. So we're saying Ukraine will not lose the war. You see, like I said just now, when a man is dedicated to his thoughts and is dogged, he can suffer some things, but he will not lose. He's a fearful man that loses at the middle of a race because you are not sure who you are, you're not sure where you are. But when you are sure of where you are going, you may have injuries, but you are sure to get there. So I believe that if the European countries can stand with the resolutions that they have given to themselves, the war may not last long. Because no matter how powerful, China is also very cautious because he knows that most of his economic development has roots in America and Europe. If they use that as a weapon, you also have a problem. Iran also is afraid because Israel is ready to do anything, and you'll be very surprised that Israel may also be considering aligning with Ukraine. And when Israel comes into that matter, some areas of it is gone because they will use their technology. The most feared technology.
Right now is Third World War.
Well, it could be anything.
Right now, you talk about Israel, talk about some other countries. Aside, hopefully, that's like a recipe for the Third World War.
Yeah, if Russia has decided to start, life is a matter of give and take. If you say you don't want war, even if you don't want, somebody will bring the war to you. And so you have to be prepared. These are some of the things. So my concern is, I don't want war, but if war is the only thing that can give us a go-ahead, then let's fight it. What do we have to lose? Everybody must die one day. The country, the land we are fighting about, we will all leave it. Nobody owns it. You are not carried anywhere. You will leave it. So why do we have to assume that why do we have to assume superiority, that some citizens are more superior than others?
All right.
So that's some of the things.
Gentlemen, before we will talk about the yes and the no thing by Russia and Ukraine, it's like we have to go back in time to really find out what happened that led to where we are today. Crimea was annexed. There was no squabble. But like Putin, don't go beyond this. And from reports and record, the man obeyed. Until Ukraine said they want to become member of the NATO. And that didn't sit down too well. Putin said, look, you were dangerous. You put us in danger. Our enemies, so to speak, right now will not have easy access to spy on us because they're too close. For that reason, do not join NATO. Don't forget that Russia did the same thing in 1967 when they wanted to have an outpost in Cuba. US reported and said, no, if you do that across the red line, the world will bomb. We don't care. Don't do that. And Russia went back. But now, they're still pushing for NATO to do what the US refused to do to Russia in 1967. This was how the war started. According to reports, Putin will feel comfortable or better if, and only if, that region is asking for, is given to him at least to have a kind of a shield to protect Mother Russia from NATO invasion, if there will be any. Don't you think the man is making a lot of sense?
The issue there is very clear. Why is the man afraid? If the man knows quite well that he's not going to do anything that will bring an issue that requires his region to be invaded, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Sorry for interjecting. You should answer that same question. Why was the US afraid in 1967?
There was then.
Because it was the same situation.
No, accepted. But then Russia, as it were, was Soviet Union, as it were, then. Not as you have them in different, Georgia on its own, Ukraine and others, going out of the Soviet Union, as it were. Then it was an issue that borders on them that made America to reject that. Ukraine, as it were, was part of the Soviet Union. And now, as a nation on its own, that have a sovereignty, as it were, you cannot determine for such a nation what to do and how to go about it. Why is Russia afraid that if they become part of the NATO, that automatically their comfort zone will be affected? It is very clear. And if Ukraine is insisting that we want to join NATO, they have almost concluded the whole thing as it were. And you are insisting that that will be the condition. They know equally too, because Ukraine on its own know quite well that Russia has not stopped, because at the time they took Crimea, people thought that would be the end, as it were. But there is fear that they might go beyond that. And that fear they might go beyond that, that is what made Ukraine on its own, when they started, as it were, raise that issue that if you join NATO, because that was just a defense. But the truth still remains that if Ukraine succumbs to the threat, automatically, not only those regions, the Donbas regions that they are talking about, at the end of the day, they will want to take over Ukraine as it were.
But Putin never said that.
No, he will not say it.
He never said that. Right now, you're a legal practitioner.
No.
You have to judge someone with what they said.
No, listen, you cannot.
For this thing to happen, give us this region, whether you want to join it or not, we don't have an issue. But for now, because of national security, which the US also have to 1967, don't join this group.
Good, accepted. The issue there is that if he is insisting that joining NATO will become a challenge, because those are the conditions he's giving. He said, first, you will give us those regions, or allow those regions who are taken. It remains good. Secondly, that you should not join NATO. That is the condition he's giving. He has not changed his position. So if those two have been in his position, as it were, that is to say that Ukraine do not have the power to decide what they want to do. And that is why Zelensky is saying that it's just like Hitler what ultimatum. And which others are saying that U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is saying, it's just like a man, you have illegally acquired the man's territory. At the same time, you are giving the man condition and how there is going to be peace. And NATO on their part is looking at it, NATO secretary was equally looking at it from another angle. It's not possible. Because Ukraine on its own is a sovereign nation based on the fact that at the point in time they were together and now we are no longer together.
But Cuba then on their own was a sovereign nation.
But Cuba, no, look at Cuba. Cuba was more like an island then.
But it's a nation.
Exactly.
Sovereign
island. It was more like an island then. Yes. But you also look at the time and now. The time is different. And the purpose, as it were, in that of Putin. Because the fear others have about Putin does not stand by his words. He has asked, a man who has asked for an inch, before you know, he begin to ask for an arm. And that is the fear. Because if just as the Pope and others have been putting pressure, oh, Zelensky, why don't you accept? Accepted. Those Donbas areas, as it were, economically has nothing beneficial to Ukraine. Even Russia presently, the amount of money they put in, they have to rebuild. They have to do so many things in those parts of the world. Ukraine, those areas in Donbas has no economic benefit to Ukraine, as it were.
All right, but it's like you have so much to say, but in addition to what you really have to say, because of the question I threw out at Barrister Heron was, are these no-cap right now weapon given to Ukraine to defend their territory? How do you think Russia will react to that?
You don't need to be a soothsayer to know what Russia would do. Russia will try to exacerbate everything and to make it look as if it's as bad as it is. But let's look at things in themselves. You took over Crimea. They tried to struggle, but they left it. Now you are asking for another territory close to it. What is the guarantee that you will not take care? Nothing. The United Nations guidelines or rules that every nation has a right to determine who to belong to. The Ukraine is a sovereign nation that has right to determine who it should be. Don't forget that everybody needs development. Russia, since after they left the Soviet Union, Russia has never really invested in Ukraine, except to be a lord. Look at the election that brought in Zelensky. It was a revolt against the appointed person that Russia had, who has to flee Ukraine to Russia. Show you that he was loyal to Russia than to Ukraine as his own country. So we look at that and we say to ourselves, why is there so much desperate? How many countries has NATO been engaged in fighting since it was created? So Ukraine wants to guide himself. You are saying no. You are afraid that if they join NATO, they will have more power to exert to be able to be on the side. All Russia wants is that Ukraine must never be an independent nation. It's just like what the colonial masters are doing to Africa. You gave us independence, but we are not independent. Everything about the economy still goes to Europe and America. And that's what Russia wants. And Zelensky said, no, we need to be independent. The European nation will give us more space as economy grows for us to be able to grow our economy. Go and look at how many billionaires you have in Russia. Every one of them has allegiance to Putin. Few of them that doesn't is either they have been killed abroad, they've been imprisoned, or you go and look at all of them. And so people want to express themselves. You can't say anything in Russia as a citizen.
The ones also loyal to Putin have been sanctioned by the West.
Yes, you see, sanctions.
No,
it's not. The point here is this. The point here says, if you do this, we can no longer do business with you. It's our money. We can't be giving you our money to fight against us. That's it. What has Russia done to Ukraine, to Zelensky's people? That you see that the people are saying we must join Russia. The people have stood with Zelensky against Russia. That shows to you that they have suffered oppression in design. So they want to be free. And Russia says you cannot be free. And you cannot determine what other people have. That you have enslaved your citizens in Russia doesn't mean you must enslave every other person. They have to do their own. So we need to begin to look. And that's why I praise Zelensky for his steadfastness. He's not a military officer. He's not a billionaire. He's not something that you can... But yet, he has been able to galvanize his people. He has been able to rally around Europe and others to safeguard the integrity of Ukraine. And such determination never ends without a victory. You will see it. And that's where I hope to, that the Ukrainians will win their territory. They are not asking you, give us your land. They are saying, leave our land alone. And what is it? Anybody can guide this country. You are talking of Cuba and Cuba. What is the distance between Cuba, Russia, and America? Which is closer? Cuba is closer to America than to Russia. And yet you want to have a base in Cuba.
But that's what NATO is trying to do.
No.
It's in Ukraine.
No, that's not what they're trying to do. No.
Nobody, NATO has not said that.
Cuba didn't invite Russia. Russia was pressuring to come there.
But let's go down memory lane.
Yeah.
Castro, Cuba, Russia, they have this understanding way back. And of course, US kicked against it. If you go down memory lane, that is a history for you.
Yes.
Now, the thing is just this. Since this war has been raging, right, you get to realize that this time around is like US is cash-strapped, NATO is cash-strapped. Now, what they are doing now is to give Ukraine loan by seizing, or let's say from the seized Russian
assets.
So,
no, it's the interest they are giving. The interest of 3 billion. That's what they are giving. It's the interest they are giving.
Because now, for Zelensky to cry and say, look, this is what is going on.
Yes.
You don't find it funny. It's like there is no money nowhere anymore. That's okay, fine. From Russia sees assets, give it to.
Because Russia is the cause.
It's the cause of their economic.
With this move, do you think that you're going to be able to sustain this? No, even when the money is not coming from the US, not coming from NATO, not coming from EU, now they're using frozen Russian assets.
Yeah, you see,
Barrister, please, I want to react to this. I'll come back to you, Rebecca.
You see, the 356 billion US dollars assets of Russia They are taking percentage out of it, which is $3 billion naira, $3 billion at the end of the year, which is the interest which they are giving to Ukraine. The crisis in Ukraine was created by the Russians. Ukraine never one day asked for what is going on. And the fact still remains that pressures have been put on Russia. Stop this war. And if those sanctions were not there, Russia would have done worse than this. It's because there are sanctions. And those sanctions are equally biting on Russia.
But don't forget that also Russia sanctioned US goods also in Russia.
Yes, I accept it. That is why Zelensky, that is why Putin went to North Korea. You saw him in North Korea. What did he go to North Korea to do? He went to North Korea. He went for weapon acquisition, and at the same time to discuss other bilateral issues that will, assist Russia to sustain the war as it were. It is not only Ukrainians that are suffering, the issue of loss in terms of manpower, loss in terms of armament and all what. The Russians are equal. A lot of persons has shown apathy towards the war as it were. A lot of Russians have decided to abandon the battlefield. You saw the women the other day. They were shouting that their husbands have been away for a very long time. They have not seen them and all what. But a lot of persons are not interested again because the impression he gave to them was that once this war starts, in less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Ukraine is over. But today, the story is different. It's not what actually they planned, that's what they are getting. And himself, that is why he's globetrotting too. Everybody, you are looking for an alliance. You are looking for those who will be. China said they are not attending the 90 countries that are holding their meeting in Switzerland. China said because Russia was not invited. But Ukraine was invited. China said it's not going to attend because they are forming an alliance. That is why himself now went to North Korea. Everybody is looking for an alliance. You find areas where for your own interest and at the same time to ensure that you survive what is going on. Because the war itself has affected the Russia. Not only Ukraine that it has affected. In terms of men, in terms of weapon and all whatnot, everybody is looking for an avenue where to recoup and see how to sustain. Not that Zelensky is the only one talking about peace. Even Putin himself is equally diplomatically talking about peace. Because the war that started in February 2022, we are now in June 2024.
But it's given the condition.
He's giving it. He knows quite well.
Because Ukrainians are the ones begging for peace.
No,
right?
he knows.
He forced Russia to accept that peace.
No, see, listen. The truth remains that there is no way Ukraine can accept such condition. Putin knows quite well that Zelensky can never accept that condition because that has been the issue. Why did you invade Ukraine? Because of the Donbas area. What was the second reason you gave? Oh, you should not join in NATO. What again are you asking for? If those two things are given, automatically they have given out their birthright. And which I know they will not. Instead, they will fight to the end. Thank God that they are not the only one who, there. There are other countries. With this historic bilateral agreement in terms of security, weapon and others with America, surely they will be able to stand their stand and, survive the battle as it were.
All right. Like what Barrister rightly said, they say North Korea in the mix.
Yes.
And according to so many persons, the Supreme Leader, with due respect, can be irrational when it comes to anything US. With them right now in the mix, do you think that Ukraine will be able to stand the heat that will come up next? Don't forget that North Korea, believe it or not, is looking for where and how to test their weapons.
You see, the problem with every of the things happening is that the rich also cry.
You're right about that.
Okay? North Korea will not be a major player in this business because they know they already are in a box. They know. Because if North Korea put itself out, America will use South Korea to deal with North Korea. There's already a shift in their listening.
But South Korea is afraid of North Korea.
No. It's not because it's afraid. It's that you are dealing with an irrational person who can use anything to do anything.
Yes.
That is just it.
But the
And
point
that calls
is,
for fear.
Yeah, that calls for fear. But the point is, they have America as friend, and they also have Israel as friend. There are some certain things that nobody is talking about that because Israel can take off most of their plans.
But not when Israel is busy with Hamas.
No, it can be. You see, everybody can be busy. Yeah, Israel is busy with Hamas.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that it cannot help somewhere. Helping somewhere, that means America will also have to put itself into it. At the 90-country conference, America said they are giving Ukraine 1.3 billion as economic aid. You see, people and Europeans have also led aid. They will get something. Russia knows that its territory is also under fire. You see, sometimes you see some people, they say they are strong. They want to exert that strength outside, but inside they are fearing. They know that the strength is no longer as it used to be. This war, to me, will end in the defeat of Russia to create some peace with some countries that are also afraid. Like I said, it's not just Ukraine. There are some countries within the European zone, close to them, that are afraid that if Ukraine falls, the next thing is them.
It's them.
And that's the reason why some of them are also helping and aiding Ukraine. You know, it's in this manner. Russia knows it can't fight the war alone. He has been using some other small countries to try to harass Ukraine. But they know, those ones are afraid that if anything happens, they will be the first to suffer in some of this. So everybody is afraid of himself because nobody, including America, because some rascals can just use missiles, throw missiles across and land in America.
September 11.
September 11 is there. North Korea can launch a missile that will land in part of America. Iran can also try to do that. But they also know that their country may not exist if such thing happens. Even the Russia you're talking about. One thing that America do not really want to start a third world war. That's why he has been restraining himself not to see as if he's getting directly involved in the matter. If not, there are things that would have happened and some Russian states would have been out of existence. And the people will now revolt.
Are you talking about nuclear power?
Yes.
But according to a record, apart from America, Russia, they have the highest nuclear power.
No problem. But you know, some of their nuclear powers...
If you talk about nuclear holocaust right now, the world will suffer. Everyone will suffer.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Everybody will suffer.
Okay.
But you also know that as it is now, Russian armament is depleting. And even their nuclear warheads are also aging. How do you replace them? That's the issue. So the one you had in 1970 may not be as effective as the one you have in
2024.
You know? And that's why countries are very careful in some of these things. But we hope that it doesn't get to that point. And that's why Putin should have... I would have also appreciated if the Pope had also spoken to Putin to ask him to step back. Maybe why is it that it's only the young...
Maybe he did.
But it was not on the no.
No, we didn't hear it.
It was not on the no.
We didn't hear it.
If you're to give a piece of advice to Putin and of course to Zelensky, what would it be for quality wrap on this show? Because right now, what I would like you to know, what are talking peace. That means there is hope somehow. But the conditions to be met, that's where they find it difficult to agree.
You see, just as I rightly said, those areas in Durban where we are talking about economically has no benefit to Ukrainians. To Ukrainian government, they have nothing. As it is now, Putin
Russia is
strategic. But again, the question then down to Zelensky is that I cannot give up that part, whether it is beneficial or not. No. That is the issue. Again, Putin is saying, oh, you should not join NATO. The man is saying, oh, if I join NATO, it will pay my country more than remaining where we are. And he has seen that. So I know of a truth. At the end of the day, there's no way Putin can put the pressure on Ukrainians to accept his condition. It's either the other countries who have mediated, the G7 and other countries, the 90 countries who met in Switzerland, all continue to put pressure on Putin on why he has to see reasons and stop the war as it were. And the Pope himself should equally call Putin and remind him of the consequences of his action and see reason why he has to stop this war, as it were. But saying that the Ukrainians will give up, the Ukrainians will not give up. They will continue to fight until the last man standing.
Thank you so much. Reverend, briefly.
Yeah,
Both parties.
war is no friend of anybody. And most of the time, those who lose are the ordinary citizens who do not have the power to say anything. But I will advise that Putin should step back and allow Ukraine to live as a citizen, as their own country. Let them do whatever they want to do. That, because they joined NATO, does not mean it's a war against Russia. It's a safeguard for themselves to be able to live. And you cannot beat a child and ask the child not to cry. I think that's where we are.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We're still watching, observing right now. Putin has gone to pay a visit of North Korea. You know what that means. He didn't hide the agenda of war and weapons. That trip happened later after U.S. made a promise that this time around, no cap in the kind of weapons given to Ukrainians to defend their territory. And Russia said if the weapon is launched into Russia, then maybe Russia will be followed. Do you think that this is like a recipe for the war? It's not been quiet on one hand, but on the other hand, saying that it's what Russia indirectly not saying no, but their actions pretend that they're inside, or as supporting Russia. And of course, US is not hiding, NATO they're not hiding, their allies are not hiding, they're backing up Ukraine. And with the war between Israel and Gaza right now, and Hamas will speak, the need to experience a ceasefire with attention now turned to Russia. And how do you think Putin will react? I think game of chess in international politics, definitely. The one sometimes with the biggest government of the economy or weapons, most of the time, comes out tops. Let's see how this will pan out. I'll also report back to you. See you next week Tuesday. God willing. Bye for now.